kid, obviously I don't know anything about. Can you tell me about him, what kind of player he is?
Yeah, Lucas had a great year this year in the Czech Elite League. He had a tremendous second half and was his team's leading scorer in the playoffs. And our scout in the Czech Republic was extremely passionate about him. He's a very well-rounded player, but the skill and the offense at the end of the season this year gave us a hint that there's some skill and offense there. So we were really excited about what he brought. How his game improved, and that he was there for us in the sixth round to make that selection.
Does
Ryan,
the development
the critical need for a goaltender you guys were able to fill. I know you talked to other guys at the combine who were already taken, but what was the thought on the goalie you actually got?
Well, him being a Frölunda player, he had a terrific year in the Swedish Junior League, and we've seen the steps from last year, him not getting drafted, to this year taking a step and being one of the best goaltenders in the Swedish Junior League, to the plan of him going to Dubuque next year and then Michigan, and it gives us time for him to develop his game. And being a big guy, being a little bit of a late bloomer physically, he had to catch up to himself. And the way he played for his club team down the stretch in the playoffs and the steps that he took as a goaltender, we see a future there for him, and that's what we liked about him.
Does the development schedule for a guy like Rusek change because he's 20?
Not really. Maybe he's a little bit more physically mature than the average 18-year-old that we pick at the draft, but he's also a late bloomer. He didn't come into his own until this year, and if you look back at his history of numbers, he did have points, he did produce offense as a young player, but now he kind of came into his own this year. So the best thing about this organization is that we're patient about his development. We can let him mature some more, maybe get even some more confidence this year in the Czech Elite League, and then assess where he needs to go after that.
Picking a high school player like Aaron, certainly different than somebody from the Swedish Hockey League. So I guess, how do you handle his development moving forward? And at that point in the draft, what makes you comfortable with where he could go in the next couple of years, since there's a lot that needs to be done?
I've had some familiarity with the Minnesota high school players, picking Brock Nelson with the Islanders before, and it just takes them a little bit longer. He's physically immature, but he has capability of putting on weight and putting on size. So that's the first thing that we assess. And he's likely going to go back and play in the USHL again this year and then go into Minnesota, which again, it's going to be time for him and just take time to get better and develop and gain confidence. And he had a real good finish to the year in Fargo. Good start to the year in Fargo, and then in his middle part of the season, he was dominant at the Minnesota high school level. So we know he's got the skills and abilities. It's just going to be a little bit longer development curve. And again, the organization's patient with that. The people in Minnesota will continue to develop him at the University of Minnesota, and then take steps as a player to grow into his body, get physically more mature, and gain confidence as a result.
Seems like there's a familiarity when you get guys. You get a guy who's at Backstro, Davidson's going there. There's a lot of those relationships that come in. How much does that factor into who you're picking, or just how it just works out?
It's really just how it works out. I mean, we picked two players that are going to the University of Minnesota, and Ryan Johnson and Aaron Hoogland. So it's more coincidental than anything else, but it's certainly going to help because we'll have a great relationship with the coaches. Our development team will be in to work with those guys, and we can hit two birds with one stone. So as much as it's coincidence, it's going to be good for our development people and our development program for both those players, that they can share the path, so to speak.
Can you go back to last night for a second? A lot of maybe unexpected things happened. 3-4. What was your thought process after number 6? Basically, you had a choice of 3 or 4 guys. You would have taken any of them, I think.
For sure, and that's where we're so prepared going into it. We've looked at different scenarios, and as much as we say we're not going to do a mock draft, we still have ideas in our mind of what could happen, but let's just get our list set. Let's get our list set coming out of our Buffalo meetings and what we want as an organization. We add in a little bit from the NHL Combine and what we go through there, and now our list is set. So as much as it played out like we did 1 through 5, the 6 may have been a pick that we weren't expecting, but still to have Dylan there at 7 was huge for us, and that was a player we really coveted.
What can you tell us? Did you think he'd go earlier?
We weren't sure. We figured that 3, 4, 5 were going to be a mixture of Doc, Turcotte, and Byram, which it was. We didn't know what was going to happen at 6. It may have been Cousins. Then we go to the next player on our list. So we thought there was like a 50-50 chance that Detroit may take Dylan, or somebody else before might take him. So as much as we were really excited, it wasn't a huge surprise because we thought that could happen.
There's an urgency in this organization, certainly this year at the NHL level. You have to, in scouting, think with that long-term prism. How difficult is that to not get impacted by what's going on above you, essentially?
that's the focus of us with our group, is we have to stay in the now and don't play GM. Let's assess the talent, look at what the talent brings, feed us the information. We make decisions on the upside of the player, the potential of the player, and then at the end of the day, management really has to make the final decision of what this organization needs. And there's a huge balance. Taking a player that could play in 2 years versus a player that's going to be better in 7 years, it's a very different way of looking at things. So from my standpoint, it's about keeping our guys focused on the player, what he's going to be at the height of his career, and then management looks at things a different way.
What else can you tell us about Ryan Johnson? He calls himself a puck mover. I mean, long term, does he project more as a defensive defenseman? Does he have offensive upside, do you think?
We think that the offensive upside is still being developed in his game. He had that as a younger player. Didn't have a ton of numbers in the USHL this year, but it is a hard league to bring offense as a defenseman. I call him a new age defenseman. He skates extremely well. He moves the puck extremely well. He defends with his brain. He's not overly rugged, but he does have this little sense of grit every now and then, and that showed in the playoffs this year. He had a great playoff for the Clark Cup champions in the USHL, which shows that he's a winner and he's a gamer. So I like the well-roundedness of him from an offensive standpoint. We think that could still come, but even if it doesn't, we know we've got a new age defenseman that can move the puck and skate.
You've been trying to project guys top level. I know you don't want to put any undue pressure on Cousins, but where do you see Cousins at the top of his career?
Well, he's going to be a good centerman in the NHL, and this organization now with Jack and Casey and Dylan, it gives us great options. So we think that he's a guy that's going to be able to produce some offense while playing a well-rounded 200-foot game with good size. He still has a frame to fill out. Still a little bit immature physically, which is great. It shows that there's some upside there, and it gives us good depth at the center position.
With, as an amateur scouting staff, when you have so many players you guys have looked at over the course of the year, it's almost difficult to part with picks and give away, getting possible guys to go ahead and move up. How does that balance sort of get struck?
I think it's all draft strategy. It's about maximizing the players that we can get at a certain time. So we could get 12 picks and blanket the field with potential players, but if we think we can get a better player by packaging a couple picks together, we feel that we're getting a better player, and that's how fine-tuned our list is with projections and what we think the players are going to be. So it's nice to have options, but it's also nice to get what we think might be a better player.
So to that end, why the move up for Cedar Fish?
Well, we like the fact that he played in the SHL this year. He played in the men's league. He played with a very good club there. He's a well-rounded player too, but he's got a nice little skill set and a very direct player. And our Swedish scouts and even our Swedish scout from last year raved about him and the steps that he's taken in his game. So we like the fact that he's playing more mature hockey. He's shown a step in his game, and all that part and parcel gives him an upside for us.